I said nothing, just walked over to the garage and picked up the painting from the donation pile. My son David's voice was still echoing from inside the house, laughing with his guests about his beautiful new renovations. Through the window, I could see Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, gesturing animatedly to a group of women, probably explaining her design choices for the 100th time that evening. The painting felt heavier than I remembered. Maybe because it was the last thing Margaret ever gave me. Maybe because I'd just watched Vanessa remove it from Lucas's bedroom wall 30 minutes ago, in front of 40 people, calling it an amateur eyesore that doesn't fit our aesthetic. I placed it carefully in my truck and drove home. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks since David and Vanessa's housewarming party. 3 weeks since I'd seen my grandson. I'd been calling, but Vanessa always had an excuse. Lucas was busy with piano lessons, tutoring, soccer practice. Never mind that I used to pick him up from school every Tuesday and Thursday. The painting sat in my living room, propped against the wall where Margaret's favorite chair used to be. Sometimes I'd catch myself talking to it, like she could still hear me through the brushstrokes. She'd painted it for our 40th anniversary, 2 years before the cancer took her. A landscape of the lake where we'd gotten married. The colors were a bit off. The perspective wasn't quite right, but she'd been so proud of it. "It's not very good, is it?" she'd said with that smile of hers, the one that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. "But it's got heart." Lucas had loved it. When he was 6, he'd stand in front of it and point out things he saw. A fish jumping in the water that wasn't there. A bird in the tree that was probably just a smudge. Margaret had eaten it up, encouraging every bit of his imagination. When she passed, David had asked what I wanted to keep from the house. "Just the painting," I'd said, "and Margaret's wedding ring, which I wore on a chain around my neck. Everything else could be divided up, donated, whatever they needed." The painting had hung in Lucas's room for the past 2 years. David said it made the boy feel close to his grandmother, until Vanessa decided it didn't match her new color scheme. I should have spoken up at the party. Should have said something when she pulled it down, when she handed it to one of the caterers with instructions to put it with the items for goodwill. But I'd learned over the years that Vanessa didn't respond well to confrontation, especially public disagreement, and David always took her side. So I'd stayed quiet, waited until everyone was inside, rescued my wife's painting, like it was a child left out in the cold. The frame was damaged. The corner had cracked when Vanessa had set it down too roughly. I ran my finger along the split wood, wondering if it could be repaired. Margaret had been so particular about the frame. Museum quality, she'd insisted, though I'd told her it was too expensive for a beginner's painting. That's when I noticed it. A tiny gap where the backing had separated from the frame, and through that gap, I could see something. A different color, a different texture. My hands shook a little as I carefully pulled away more of the backing. The frame was deeper than it needed to be for Margaret's canvas, almost like it was designed to hold something thicker. I stopped myself. This needed professional hands, not a 67-year-old man with increasingly unreliable fingers. I'd heard about a woman who did art restoration over in Morrison, about an hour's drive. Dr. Helena Chen. Margaret had mentioned her once. Said she'd done work for the Historical Society. I called first thing Monday morning. "I can see you Thursday at 2, Dr. Chen said. Her voice was warm, patient. "What kind of piece are we talking about?" "A landscape painting. Oil, I think. The frame is damaged, and I noticed there might be something underneath the canvas." There was a pause. "Underneath?" "Yes. I don't want to damage anything by investigating myself." "No. Definitely bring it in. That's potentially very interesting." Thursday afternoon, I drove to Morrison with the painting wrapped in old blankets in my passenger seat. Dr. Chen's studio was in a converted barn, the kind of place that probably looked run down to people like Vanessa but felt full of character to me. Inside, it smelled like linseed oil and old wood. Dr. Chen was younger than I expected, maybe mid-50s, with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore a jeweler's loop around her neck and had paint under her fingernails. "Mr. Harrison?" She smiled and gestured to a large table near the window. Let's see what you've brought me. I unwrapped the painting carefully. She studied it for a moment, her expression neutral and professional. Then she examined the damaged corner, where I'd noticed the gap. Your wife painted this? She asked gently. For our anniversary. She was just learning. I know it's not very good, technically speaking, but it has heart, Dr. Chen finished, glancing at me with understanding. I can see that. And you're right. There's definitely something here. She retrieved a small light and what looked like a magnifying glass on a stand. For the next several minutes, she examined the frame from every angle. I stood back, trying not to hover, my heart beating faster than it probably should. Finally, she straightened up. Her face had changed. The professional neutrality was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like shock. Mr. Harrison, I need to ask you some questions about where this frame came from. My wife bought it about 10 years ago. She said it was from an estate sale. I remember because I'd complained about the cost. $300 for a frame seemed excessive, but she insisted it was perfect for the painting she was planning. Dr. Chen's hand went to her mouth. Do you know whose estate? No. I'm sorry. She handled all of that. She loved going to estate sales on weekends. Said she was looking for inspiration. Mr. Harrison. Dr. Chen's voice was very careful now. I need to use some tools to investigate this further. Non-destructive ones. But I need your permission to proceed. And I need you to understand that what we find might be significant. I don't understand. She turned the painting over, pointing to the back. This frame is unusual. It's much deeper than necessary for a standard canvas, and based on what I can see here, and here she indicated several spots along the edge, there's another canvas mounted inside the frame, behind your wife's painting. My mouth went dry. Another painting? Potentially. I can't be certain until I examine it properly. But Mr. Harrison, if I'm right about what I'm seeing, this frame might have been custom-made to conceal something valuable. She spent the next hour carefully, methodically separating the frame's backing. I sat in a chair she'd pulled up for me, watching her work with steady, practiced hands. Finally, she lifted away the last piece of wood. Behind Margaret's landscape was another canvas, older. The paint was cracked with age, but even I could see it was different. Professional. The brushwork was confident, masterful. Dr. Chen said nothing for a long moment. She just stared. Then she pulled out her phone and started taking photographs from every angle. Mr. Harrison, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you know who Thomas Hart Benton was? The painter? Yes, of course. Margaret loved his work. We saw an exhibition once at the Nelson Atkins in Kansas City. This painting. She stopped, took a breath. I need to call someone. I need a second opinion before I say anything definitive. But Mr. Harrison, if this is what I think it is, you need to sit down. I am sitting down. Then, hold on to that chair. She made a call, spoke in low, rapid tones about provenance and authentication and catalogue raisonné. I caught phrases like regional period and previously unknown work. When she hung up, her hands were shaking slightly. There's a Benton scholar at the university who can be here tomorrow morning. In the meantime, this painting needs to be secured. I have a climate-controlled vault. With your permission, I'd like to keep it here overnight. Dr. Chen, please. What are we talking about? She pulled up a chair to face me directly. Mr. Harrison, if this painting is authentic, and I believe it is, it's a previously unknown work by Thomas Hart Benton, probably from the 1930s. Based on the subject matter and style, it's from his Midwest regional period. Works from that period, when they come to market. She paused. The last one sold for over $400,000. The room tilted a little. I gripped the armrests of my chair. 400,000. Minimum. Possibly more, depending on authentication and condition. Mr. Harrison, did your wife ever mention anything about this? Any hint that she knew what was in the frame? I tried to think back. Margaret at the estate sale, excited about the frame. Margaret insisting it was perfect. Margaret dying without ever mentioning it. No, I said slowly. But she was always finding treasures. She'd buy something at a yard sale that everyone else passed over. and it would turn out to be valuable. Not like this, but she had an eye. Dr. Chen nodded. Some people do. And the frame itself is designed to protect and conceal. Someone, maybe the original owner, maybe a collector during the Depression when Benton's work was sometimes undervalued, mounted this painting to hide it. Your wife found it. And then she painted over her own work, knowing what was underneath. I shook my head. That doesn't make sense. Margaret would have told me. Perhaps she was protecting it, Dr. Chen suggested gently. Or perhaps she wanted you to discover it at the right time. Either way, Mr. Harrison, you need to understand that this changes things. A painting of this value requires insurance, security, proper documentation, and, she hesitated, you'll need to inform your family, my family, David and Vanessa, who'd called this painting trash, who'd tried to donate it to Goodwill. Not yet, I said. Let's wait for the authentication. I need to think about this. Dr. Chen studied me for a moment, then nodded. I understand. But Mr. Harrison, be careful. When money like this is involved, people change. Even family. I drove home in a daze. $400,000. Hidden inside a frame that Vanessa had deemed an eyesore. Behind a painting she'd removed from my grandson's wall in front of 40 people. The next morning, the scholar from the university confirmed it. Thomas Hart Benton, circa 1934, a Midwest landscape that had been considered lost. The university wanted to buy it for their permanent collection. So did two private collectors. There would be an auction, Dr. Chen explained. Competition would drive the price up. Conservatively, the scholar said, you're looking at $450,000 to $500,000. Possibly more if the right buyers are interested. I sat in Dr. Chen's studio, looking at the painting Margaret had hidden, or protected, or saved for me to find. I need to make some calls, I said. The first call was to a lawyer. Not David's golfing buddy who'd helped with Margaret's estate, but someone new. Someone Vanessa didn't know. I need you to look into something for me, I told him. Financial records. My son and daughter-in-law. Specifically, I want to know if they've discussed putting me in a nursing home. The lawyer, Marcus Webb, didn't ask why. Just said he'd look into it. The second call was to Lucas's school. I'd been on the emergency contact list since he was born, but I wanted to confirm I still was. The secretary checked. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison. Your name was removed 2 weeks ago. Mrs. Harrison, David's wife, said you'd agreed to it. I'd agreed to nothing. The third call was to my neighbor's daughter, who worked in social services. I'd known Christina since she was Lucas's age. She'd sometimes ask my advice about her own elderly clients. Christina. If someone was trying to get an older person declared incompetent to manage a potential inheritance, what would that look like? There was a pause. Tom, is this about you? Just curious. The steps would include documenting concerns about mental capacity, possibly getting doctors to suggest assisted living, isolating them from support systems. Tom, what's going on? 2-0. I can't handle. But thank you. Marcus called back 3 days later. Mr. Harrison, I found something you need to see. Can you come to my office? The documents he spread across his desk made my stomach turn. Emails between Vanessa and someone named Dr. Patricia Morrison, a geriatric psychiatrist. Emails about age-related decline and appropriate care facilities. Notes from a consultation I'd never attended. A draft petition for guardianship. When did you see Dr. Morrison? Marcus asked. I've never heard of her. That's what I thought. These emails suggest Vanessa has been building a case to have you declared incompetent to manage your own affairs. She's been documenting concerning incidents, forgetting appointments, repeating yourself, getting lost driving to familiar places. None of that has happened. I know. But if she got a doctor to sign off on a competency evaluation, and if David supported it, they could petition for guardianship, especially if there's a significant asset involved. He tapped the papers. Did something valuable come into your possession recently? I told him about the painting. Marcus whistled low. That's motive. Mr. Harrison, they don't know yet, do they? No. Good. Don't tell them. Not until we're ready. He pulled out another folder. I did some more digging. Your daughter-in-law has significant debts. The house renovation? Financed. Her car? Leased beyond her means. She's leveraged to the point where a $500,000 inheritance would be very attractive. It's not an inheritance. It's mine. Exactly. But if they could have you declared incompetent, David as your son would likely be appointed guardian, and then he'd control your assets, including the painting. I thought about Margaret's painting covering the Benton, about her insisting on that expensive frame, about her never telling me what was underneath. She knew, I said suddenly. Margaret. She knew people would come for it, so she hid it where only someone who truly cared about her work would find it. Marcus looked at me sympathetically. Your wife sounds like she was a smart woman. The smartest. So what do? We document everything. We get your own doctor to evaluate you and confirm you're of sound mind. We gather evidence of Vanessa's manipulation. And when we have enough, he smiled grimly, we confront them, preferably with witnesses. It took 2 more weeks. 2 weeks of pretending I didn't know. 2 weeks of unreturned phone calls from David. 2 weeks of not seeing Lucas, though I drove past his school sometimes just to catch a glimpse of him at recess. During those weeks, Dr. Chen authenticated the Benton. During those weeks, Marcus gathered more evidence. During those weeks, I got my own doctor to certify my mental competence. And during those weeks, I found something else. Margaret's diary. I'd never read it before. It had felt like an invasion of privacy. But now, looking for answers, I opened it to the last few entries before she got too sick to write. Found the most incredible thing today. She'd written 3 months before her death. Thomas knows I love Benton's work. He always indulged me, even when money was tight, taking me to exhibitions. I never told him. But the frame I bought for my anniversary painting, the one he thought was too expensive, has a Benton hidden inside. I had it verified discreetly. It's worth more than our house. I'm not telling him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Thomas would want to sell it, to make my last months comfortable, to pay medical bills. But we have insurance. We have savings. And I want him to have something after I'm gone. Something that will protect him when I can't. I'm painting over my own work, mounting it in front of the Benton. If anyone ever questions it, they'll just see my amateur landscape. But Tom will keep it because it's mine. And one day, when he needs it, when someone tries to take advantage of his kind heart, he'll find what's underneath. I'm betting on him being smart enough to know what to do with it. Lucas will need protecting too. I can see the way Vanessa looks at him, like he's a prop for her perfect life, not a person. My painting in his room will be a reminder that things aren't always what they seem on the surface. That value isn't just about appearance. This is my last gift to the 2 men I love most. Take care of them, old painting. I'm trusting you. I sat in my living room, Margaret's diary in my lap, and cried like I hadn't cried since her funeral. She'd known. She'd planned it all. Marcus called the next day. It's time. I've arranged for David to meet you at my office tomorrow at 2. I told him it was about finalizing some estate paperwork. Vanessa will try to come with him. Let her. Also, I took the liberty of inviting Dr. Chen and a representative from the university who wants to purchase the painting. And, he paused, I called your grandson's school, told them there was a family matter, and requested that Lucas be picked up by his grandfather tomorrow. They said it was fine, given the circumstances. I explained. You didn't. I did. He deserves to be there. And Mr. Harrison? Bring Margaret's painting, the one she actually painted. Lucas should have it back. The next afternoon, I walked into Marcus's conference room, carrying 2 items. Margaret's landscape in its newly repaired frame, and a folder of documents. David was already there, looking confused. Vanessa was beside him. Immaculate as always in a designer suit I'm sure they couldn't afford. Lucas sat in the corner, looking scared and hopeful all at once. When he saw me, his face lit up. Grandpa, hey kiddo. I set the painting down carefully and hugged him tight. I've missed you. Vanessa said you were sick, he whispered. That you couldn't have visitors. Did she now? David stood up. Dad, what's going on? Marcus said this was about Mom's estate, but sit down, David. Something in my voice made him comply. Dr. Chen entered, carrying a large portfolio. Behind her, Professor Williams from the university. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. What is this? I looked at my son. Really looked at him. When had he become someone I didn't recognize? 3 weeks ago, at your housewarming party, Vanessa removed a painting from Lucas's room. She called it an amateur eyesore. She tried to donate it to Goodwill. I gestured to Margaret's landscape. This painting, the one your mother made for me. David had the grace to look uncomfortable. Dad, I'm sorry about that. Vanessa was just trying to update Lucas's room. I'm not finished. I opened my folder. While I was recovering that painting, my wife's last gift to me, I discovered something. There was damage to the frame. And inside that frame, hidden behind Margaret's painting, was this. Dr. Chen opened her portfolio and lifted out the Benton, now properly mounted and protected. Even Vanessa drew in a sharp breath. That's, David started. A Thomas Hart Benton, Professor Williams confirmed. Previously unknown, authenticated, valued conservatively at $475,000. The university is prepared to offer $500,000 for it. The color drained from Vanessa's face. Margaret knew it was there. I continued. She left me her diary. She bought that frame specifically because the Benton was hidden inside. She painted over her own work to protect it. To protect me. I looked at Vanessa. From people exactly like you. That's ridiculous. Vanessa sputtered. We would never. Marcus slid a stack of papers across the table. These are emails you sent to Dr. Patricia Morrison, discussing Mr. Harrison's supposed mental decline, documenting false incidents, building a case for incompetency so you and David could take control of his assets, including, I added, this painting, which you didn't know existed, but which you would have happily controlled once you had guardianship. David's face went white. Vanessa, what is he talking about? She didn't answer. Just stared at the papers like they might catch fire. There's more, Marcus said. Financial records showing that the renovation of your home was financed entirely on credit. That you're carrying significant debt. That a sudden inheritance would be very convenient right now. You had no right, Vanessa started. I had every right, I said quietly. You removed me from my grandson's emergency contact list without asking. You've kept him from seeing me for 3 weeks, making excuses. You tried to throw away the one thing I have left of my wife, and you were planning to have me declared incompetent so you could steal from me. Dad, David said, his voice breaking slightly. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the emails. Didn't you? I looked at him sadly. You let her take down your mother's painting in front of guests. You let her call it trash. You didn't call me once in 3 weeks to check on me. At what point, David, did you become someone your mother wouldn't recognize? The silence in the room was devastating. Lucas's small voice broke it. Is Grandma's painting really worth that much money? I turned to him. The one hidden inside is, but the one she actually painted? I picked up the landscape, walking over to crouch beside him. This one is priceless, because she made it with love, because she gave it to me on our anniversary, because you used to stand in front of it and see things that weren't there, fish jumping, birds flying. Do you remember? He nodded, tears in his eyes. Your grandma wanted you to have this, to remember that things aren't always what they seem, that sometimes the most valuable things are the ones people overlook. I handed it to him. This is yours now. You keep it in your room, and anybody who calls it trash, I glanced at Vanessa, doesn't deserve to be in your life. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, Marcus said formally, addressing David and Vanessa. We have significant evidence of attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Now, we can pursue this legally, or we can come to an arrangement. David found his voice. What kind of arrangement? Your father gets full, uncontested control of his assets and affairs. You drop any discussion of guardianship or assisted living. He retains unrestricted access to Lucas, including the ability to pick him up from school and have him for visits whenever he chooses. Marcus paused, and Vanessa moves out. What? Vanessa shrieked. You targeted my father, David said slowly, looking at his wife like he was seeing her for the first time. You made me think he was declining. You made me believe he needed help managing his life. All so you could, he stopped. Swallowed hard. Get out. David. I said, get out. We're done. Vanessa looked around the room, finding no allies. Finally, she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. David slumped in his chair. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have questioned more. Should have visited more. Should have trusted that your mother raised you better than this, I finished. But you can start making it right now. He nodded, not meeting my eyes. I turned to Professor Williams. About the painting. I'm not selling it. Her face fell. Mr. Harrison, if it's about the price, it's not. I'm donating it to the State Museum in Margaret's name, with the stipulation that it be displayed alongside information about her, the woman who found it, protected it, and used it to protect her family. I glanced at Lucas, and I'm setting up a trust fund with the tax write-off for my grandson's future, his education, his art supplies if he wants them, whatever he needs. Grandpa, Lucas whispered, your grandmother was the smartest person I ever knew. She taught me that the things we leave behind matter less than the people we protect. She protected me. Now I'm protecting you. I looked at David. Your mother's legacy isn't that painting. It's making sure the people she loved are safe from people who only see dollar signs. Dr. Chen smiled. That's beautiful, Mr. Harrison. And the museum will be honored. 3 months later, I stood in the State Museum next to Lucas, looking at the Thomas Hart Benton landscape that Margaret had hidden for so long. The placard read, Midwest Harvest, circa 1934. Discovered and preserved by Margaret Ann Harrison, whose love of art and wisdom ensured this piece would one day be shared with the world. Next to it, in a smaller frame, was a photograph of Margaret in her studio, paintbrush in hand, smiling at the camera. Lucas held my hand. Grandma was pretty cool, huh? The coolest. I agreed. David had filed for divorce. Vanessa was gone. The house was on the market. Turned out it was too expensive for David alone, and he didn't want it anyway. He and Lucas had moved into a smaller place, and I had dinner with them every Sunday. It wasn't perfect. David and I were still rebuilding trust, but we were trying. And Lucas had Margaret's painting back on his wall, right where it belonged. Some days, when I visit, I catch Lucas standing in front of it, pointing out things he sees. The birds, the fish, the love that went into every imperfect brushstroke. You know what I see now, Grandpa? He asked me last Sunday. What's that? I see Grandma protecting us, even when she's not here. I pulled him into a hug, grateful once again for the woman who'd painted over a masterpiece to save the people she loved. Who'd known that trash is only trash if you don't look deeper? Who'd trusted me to find what she'd hidden when the time was right? The museum wanted to buy the frame too, but I kept it. It sits in my living room now, empty. Lucas asked why I don't put another painting in it. Because, I told him, it already did its job. It protected something precious. Sometimes the most valuable things aren't what's inside them, it's what they help us keep safe. He thought about that, then nodded. Like how Grandma's painting wasn't valuable because of what was behind it. Exactly. It was valuable because of why she made it. Margaret Harrison, my wife, Lucas's grandmother, and the smartest person I ever knew, who turned trash into treasure by understanding that value isn't always measured in dollars. It's measured in the people we protect and the love we leave behind.